Ze staat bekend als koelbloedig, onbevreesd en voor de duivel niet bang. Haar naam ken je misschien niet, maar haar werk ongetwijfeld wel. Zonder ook maar met haar ogen te knipperen stelde ze kritische vragen aan zwaarbewapende Talibanstrijders. Het maakte CNN-boegbeeld Clarissa Ward direct tot een van de bekendste oorlogscorrespondenten ter wereld.
Forgive me, I have a slightly unelegant position, but we have just had a massive barrage of rockets coming in here.
CNN's Clarissa Ward. Our Clarissa Ward.
Clarissa Ward.
Clarissa joins us now.
Clarissa Ward is traveling, and as she reports, they show no sign of backing down.
Меня зовут Clarissa Ward. Я работаю в CNN. He doesn't seem to want to talk to us.
We have heard non-stop heavy artillery.
These Taliban fighters are a little upset with us.
You are now basically the only hospital around that still has some beds.
I guess so, yes.
You knew in that moment that you'd been poisoned.
Yes.
A bunch of rounds came in and hit the next door building, so now we are getting out.
She is a badass, and she is fearless.
Heroic and extraordinary reporting, as always.
I have to say it was pretty intense. It was just like this crush of desperate people. It's not often you really see desperation like that.
Het zijn dit soort uitzonderlijke reportages waarbij ze bij miljoenen kijkers een onuitwisbare indruk maakte en waarmee ze maar liefst 9 Emmy Awards won. Als ze op tv verschijnt, dan weet je dat er iets groots gebeurd is in de wereld. Dames en heren, hier is award-winning CNN-verslaggever Clarissa Ward.
Wow, this is really intense.
It is.
It's a lot of Clarissa Ward.
Yes. It's so great to have you here.
Oh my God, it's so exciting to be here.
Yeah. You've been covering wars and conflicts over the past 25 years.
Oh
now,
my
20
God,
years now.
yeah.
And you have put your life on the line many times. Why do you keep coming back?
Why do I keep coming back? Well, somebody has to do it. And I'm very privileged to be part of a tribe of people from all over the world who are committed to telling stories in conflict zones. But now more than ever, journalists are under attack. Journalists are being killed at record rates. They're being imprisoned. They're being maligned, not just by autocracies and dictatorships, but by leaders of democracies as well. And so, as challenging as this moment is, I really believe that the mission of bearing witness, of holding people in power accountable, of going on the ground and seeing with your own eyes and telling people's stories is not only hugely important, but honestly the greatest privilege I could have.
When you met your husband in 2007,
Yeah.
the very first thing he said to you was, I think war correspondents are egomaniacs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a pretty strong opening line.
Yeah, it was.
It definitely got my attention. And, you know, I can see why he said that. And I think there is this caricature, particularly if you look back in time, the sort of vain, glorious war correspondent parachuting onto the scene and announcing with absolute confidence, this is what's happening and this is why. And I think the benefit of working in the world we live in today is that all of us have learned to be very humble. All of us have learned that we are capable of making mistakes. And I think he would probably not believe any longer. I hope.
Okay.
We can check in with him.
Growing up as a child and even in college, you weren't sure what to do with your life. And then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
Why was this a change?
I think that I was studying at Yale University in the US. I was studying comparative literature. I loved books and languages. I was very interested in acting, and my friends and I had started a magazine. But like a lot of college kids, I was a little bit confused as to what this would all look like. And then the first week of my senior year, my final year of college, 9/11 happened. And I think it was like a bolt from the blue. I suddenly understood that I think I felt actually real shame that I had been a little bit ignorant as to what was happening in the world. I became deeply aware of this huge chasm that existed and which still exists between the way America sees itself and its role in the world and the way the rest of the world perceives America and America's role in the world. And I just became fixated on this idea of wanting to go to the tip of the spear and tell stories and act as some kind of a translator between worlds. Yeah. I was 22, so I really had no idea what that would look like, but it kind of evolved.
Yes, you have a reputation of being a fearless reporter.
I'm definitely not fearless.
No, okay. But
if you're fearless, you shouldn't be anywhere near a war zone.
But in 2021, you reported from Afghanistan, and here we see you speaking to a Taliban commenter one day after the government collapsed.
Okay.
And the Taliban took over the country.
Right.
How will you protect women? Because many women are afraid they will not be allowed to go to school, they will not be allowed to work.
The female, the woman can continue their lives, and we will not say anything for them. They can go to the school, they can continue their education, but with Islamic hijab.
So like I'm wearing?
Not like you, but covering their faces as well.
Cover the
hijab.
face?
Yeah.
So you mean niqab?
Niqab.
Why do they have to cover their face?
Because it is in our Islam.
Is it in Islam, though, that you have to wear niqab?
Of course, it is in Islam.
Were you scared at this moment?
I think I wasn't scared because I understood that the Taliban in that moment wanted to project an image that they had changed, that they had evolved. And by the way, as everybody here probably knows, girls can't go to school in Afghanistan, despite what he told me, and they have not been able to go for some years now. I was also working with an Afghan journalist called Najibullah Qureshi. I had spent time with the Taliban before, and all of that gave me a little bit more confidence that while the situation was very tense, I certainly wasn't being welcomed. I also probably wasn't in mortal danger. Where it was more frightening was outside the airport, because the scenes were just absolute chaos, this crush of humanity trying to get into the airport and escape, the Taliban literally beating and whipping people, and lots of bullets flying in the air. That was scary.
Okay, but you have a sense of safety, but you never can be sure.
You never can be sure, but what you can do is to work with a team to go through every possible scenario and put in the work to plan and to ensure that you have, okay, if this goes wrong, this is what we'll do. If that happens, this is our plan. This is the problem that a lot of journalists get themselves into, is that they go in, they're high on adrenaline, they get to the scene, and they don't necessarily have a bunch of scenarios that they've already worked through to deal with a catastrophe should the worst happen.
Yeah. Now, you have taken many risks in your work. This is a report you made from Kharkiv in Ukraine shortly after the beginning of the war.
So they've said that they've got reports one person at least has been injured in the shelling, and they're hearing some rockets as well, so we're going to see what's going on.
Russian forces are increasingly hitting the same target twice. It's called a double tap, a horrifying strategy to take out rescue workers as they respond. Get in, Vladimir shouts. Faster, faster, faster. We take cover under the stairwell. At that moment, another barrage goes off. We brace for the impact.
That was terrifying.
That was really terrifying. Yeah.
That was terrifying. And you know, when you do a story like that, I really wanted to do this story. I understood the risks, and I really wanted to showcase those incredible emergency workers who were risking their lives every single day, multiple times a day. And you do understand when you're doing that story that it's a numbers game. And, you know, if you go out there and do it every day, you have a high chance of getting unlucky. If you do it once and you say your prayers beforehand, then hopefully you come back with an important story.
In your book, you say, I'm addicted. What do you mean by that?
Well, some people think or imagine that you're addicted to the danger. I'm not addicted to the danger at all. I really find it makes me feel sick sometimes, that feeling of fear. What I might be addicted to is the intensity of being in places where you're really seeing the human condition boiled down to its rawest essence. And what people might not understand when they watch stories like this, we don't just see the worst of humanity, although we see plenty of that. We see the best of humanity. We see the courage. We see the altruism. We see the resilience. We see the love. We see the passion. And that can be addictive.
Yeah. But still, in 2015, your work really got a toll on you. You got PTSS and you needed therapy to recover. You said afterwards, it made me a better journalist. Why?
I think that it comes back to this idea of humility and this idea of understanding human frailty and fallibility. And when you're in touch with that, when you're no longer operating from a place of ego and needing to be seen and needing to be loved and needing to control what other people think of you, and when you're coming from a place that's more sincere, that's more heart-led, and that's more in touch with your actual emotions, which I would argue realistically does take some work either in therapy, some kind of spiritual practice, ideally maybe both. I feel like my journalism is much more heart-led now than it was before.
Yeah. You're also a mother of 3 boys.
I know,
8,
3
5,
boys.
and 2-year-old.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you tell your children about your work?
Well, that's why I wrote the book.
But they can't read it yet.
Well, they can't read it yet. It's a little graphic.
2 years.
But I hope that one day they'll read it and they'll understand. And for now, they don't really understand, although I was putting my 5-year-old to bed the other night, and as I walked out, he goes, "Mommy, what if you die in the war?" And even now I get emotional thinking about it because I've never talked to him about war. I don't know where he heard that. I don't know. I called his teacher. I'm like, what are you saying in school that he's learning about war and that I go to war? And so obviously there's going to be a reckoning as they get older, where they really start to understand what that means. I hope they'll be really proud.
I guess they will be proud, but they will be scared too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to say that, I take far fewer risks now that I'm a mother. I'm much more cautious. And honestly, I'm less driven by stories right on the front line, bullets are whizzing. I've done that. I'm more interested in telling the stories of ordinary people living through horror and hell. And to be honest, you usually have to go to dangerous places to get to those stories, but I'm very conscious of the risk. And my primary duty on this earth is as a mother to these 3 boys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. After all these years covering wars, conflicts, what is the most important thing you've learned?
The most important thing I've learned is, there but for the grace of God go I. Do not ever imagine that you are better than other people, that one place is evil, that another place is good. What I have seen through basically studying the human condition on a global level for more than 20 years is that everyone is capable of terrible acts and of great, great acts as well. And I think that comes back to humility and understanding that there really is this palpable thread of humanity that binds us all.
Yeah, yeah. And how do you reflect on this in your work?
I think by trying to listen and let people tell their stories and give people a space to feel heard. And sometimes in my work, I know that someone's not going to be in my piece or in my story, but I can feel, I sense someone wants to tell me something. And I actually believe that it's part of my work, even if I'm not going to put it on camera, to bear witness and to sit and to hold that space with them and to listen to what they have to say, because that's part of what we're there for.
Very impressive. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.